The backstage area of Ireland's Got Talent buzzed with excited voices, glittering costumes, and bright stage lights spilling through the curtains, but in one quiet corner, far away from the noise and glamour, stood a thin 13-year-old boy from Cebu City named Angelo. He kept his body small, almost hidden behind a stack of stage crates, as if he didn't want to disturb anyone. His old faded shirt, 2 sizes too big, hung loosely from his bony shoulders, and his slippers were worn so thin that his heels touched the floor with every step. Everything he owned was stuffed into a tiny backpack lying beside him, one change of clothes, a folded picture of his mother, and his second-hand guitar, its wood chipped and holding the scars of many years, many hands, and many struggles. Angelo held that guitar like it was life itself, fingers tracing the scratches, remembering how his father once played it for him by candlelight during brownouts back home in Cebu. His father's voice, deep and warm, still echoed in his memory, especially the nights he softly sang Hotel California to help Angelo fall asleep. Now his father was gone, taken too soon, and the guitar was the only piece of him left. Angelo had traveled to Ireland with the help of neighbors and kind strangers who believed in him, hoping this one moment might change everything. He tried to steady his breathing, humming the opening notes of the song under his breath, but his voice trembled. The stage manager called out instructions to other contestants, adults dressed in glitter, kids in polished shoes, dancers stretching in perfect lines. Compared to them, Angelo looked like he didn't belong, like a lost child who had wandered into the wrong world. Still, he stood tall, refusing to run. "Papa, guide me," he whispered so softly even he barely heard it. A judge, walking behind the side curtain to take a quick break, paused when he spotted the boy alone. Angelo quickly lowered his gaze, embarrassed by his clothes and the dirt still clinging to his slippers. But something about him, the trembling hands, the oversized guitar, the quiet grief sitting in his eyes, pulled the judge closer. The judge watched silently for a moment, noticing how carefully Angelo protected his guitar, as if it were more precious than anything on earth. He whispered to another judge passing by, "Look at him. That child's been through things. I can feel it." The 2 judges shared a look, one filled with curiosity, the other with emotion. Neither of them knew his name yet, or his story, but something about the poor Cebuano boy struck them deeply. Angelo continued humming the melody, unaware that he was being noticed. All he knew was that the next few minutes could change his life forever. Backstage lights flickered against his face, reflecting both fear and determination. He closed his eyes, took a shaky breath, and whispered again, "This is for you, Papa." Then the stage assistant called his name. Angelo tightened his grip on the guitar and stepped toward the light. As Angelo stepped onto the massive Ireland's Got Talent stage, the light swallowed him instantly, turning his small frame into a silhouette against the blinding glow. The audience murmured, unsure what to make of the boy who looked more like a child lost in the wrong place than a performer. His shirt hung loosely from his shoulders, his slippers slapped softly against the floor, and his second-hand guitar looked far older than he was. One of the judges leaned forward, studying him with gentle curiosity, noticing his shaking fingers wrapped so tightly around the guitar that his knuckles had turned pale. Another judge, the stricter one, softened the moment she saw his eyes, tired, shy, but carrying a deep sadness that didn't belong to someone so young. A hush fell over the room. The Irish judge with kind eyes asked, "What's your name, love?" Her voice carried warmth across the cold stage. My name is Angelo, from Cebu City, Philippines," he answered, voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. The crowd exchanged glances, Some tilted their heads in sympathy, others leaned forward as if trying to understand the whole story written on his face. "And why did you choose this song?" another judge asked, trying to make him relax. Angelo swallowed hard. His throat tightened. He glanced down at his guitar, the scratches glowing softly under the lights. It was my papa's favorite. He used to sing it every night. When he passed away, I promised I'd sing it for him someday. On a big stage. The words cracked halfway through, like his heart had split open. A thin gasp moved through the audience. One judge immediately placed a hand over her mouth, already fighting tears. The music cue faded in softly. Angelo closed his eyes, lifted his trembling fingers to the strings, and began the iconic Hotel California intro. The hall fell completely silent. His first chord was gentle, fragile, like a whisper, but the second was strong, confident, and pure. His voice rose slowly, warm and full of emotion, carrying decades of pain that no child should have known. Each line felt heavier than the next, as though he was pouring memories, loss, and hope into every note. A judge leaned back in his chair, stunned, whispering, "My God." Another wiped the corner of her eye, hiding tears behind her fingertips. Even the strict judge's face softened, her chin trembling as she tried to hold back emotion. The audience began swaying, soaking in the rawness of this poor boy from Cebu who sang like he had lived 1,000 lives. As Angelo reached the chorus, his voice cracked but didn't fall apart. It grew stronger, fueled by something deeper than talent. His breath shook, his shoulders trembled, yet the music soared higher and higher. At that moment, the entire room understood. They weren't just watching a performance, they were witnessing a boy's heart speak. And nothing in the world felt more real. The final note of Angelo's song floated into the air like a fragile goodbye, and for a second, the entire arena forgot how to breathe. His voice faded, his small hands slowly falling away from the guitar strings as if he wasn't sure the performance had really ended. Silence washed across the room, not empty, but thick, heavy, trembling with emotion. Angelo's chest rose and fell in frightened breaths. He looked out into the sea of blurred faces, confused by the stillness. For a heartbeat he wondered if he had failed. Then the silence shattered. The entire audience erupted to their feet in a sudden, explosive standing ovation, the sound so loud it shook the stage beneath him. Angelo's eyes widened, his lips parted, and he stumbled a step back, overwhelmed. He had never heard applause like this, never heard applause at all, really. In Cebu, neighbors clapped for him in tiny, whispered ways. But here, thousands of voices roared for him as if he had just cracked open the sky. One judge slammed both palms on the table, standing up so fast her chair rolled back. Tears streamed freely down her cheeks. "Angelo, that wasn't just singing. That was your soul speaking to every single one of us." Her voice broke on the last words, and she covered her mouth, sobbing. The second judge was crying too, wiping his face with both hands, shaking his head in disbelief. He tried to speak but couldn't, his voice failed him completely. The third judge, the strict one known for never showing emotion, pressed her hand against her chest, blinking rapidly as tears formed and fell despite her attempts to hold them back. Angelo's vision blurred. He didn't know whether to cry or smile or run. He clutched his guitar to steady himself. "Mama. Papa. I hope you can see me," he whispered, voice shaking. The judges exchanged looks, raw, emotional, urgent. The one in the center took a deep breath, her whole body trembling with adrenaline and disbelief. Without saying a word, she leaned forward, lifted her hand high above the golden button, and slammed it down with all her strength. The golden buzzer exploded. Confetti burst from the ceiling like a rain of stars, gold swirling around Angelo, covering his hair, his clothes, his guitar. The crowd screamed even louder. Angelo fell to his knees, overwhelmed, tears streaming down his face in unstoppable waves. He covered his mouth, sobbing uncontrollably as the judges ran toward him. One knelt beside him, pulling him into a tight embrace while crying on his shoulder. Another placed a hand on his back, saying through tears, "From Cebu to the world, you deserve this, child." Angelo closed his eyes as golden light rained around him, and in that moment, he knew his life had changed forever.